Oi, we are now live to the nation. Look at that, we're back again, we're back. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Keith Owen.
And I'm Michelle Marshall.
And you're live on Hair Talk with us just now. So we're here on Facebook, YouTube, and we're going to be on a podcast as well. So if you're listening on podcast for the first time, welcome to our little bit. Mm-hmm. So thanks for joining us. I think the thing we're going to be looking at today is colour corrections. I think we're going to have a lot. Yeah, I think we're going to have a lot coming in. Certainly going back after lockdown, I think there's going to be a huge amount of people that have got to have had a little go, possibly. Sometimes you get those clients that have got I've had the ones that somehow they've got a pass to get to like a capital or something, and they do professional hair colours as well, but they still seem to not get it quite right. So we're going to be looking at quite a few things over this period of time, regards to, what do we do? Where do we start? What type of money do we charge for these types of things? So it's a really in-depth thing. And for you guys out there, it's a fantastic opportunity to be able to ask some questions about, what happens, how you should approach colour correction.
And what happens if somebody comes to you and they've got banding? What do you do if they've got breakage? What about if somebody's hair is just so uneven, hot roots? What do we actually do? How can we, help them? Especially when we go back to the salon, or for us, we're already back in the salon. What can we do? Over the next 50 minutes, we're going to be sharing with you how to overcome these problems. Please feel free for you to get the best out of your experience with us. Please pop any questions in the chat bar. We say this every time, but we're not just saying it because it's something to say. We're actually meaning it. Without your input, the things we're doing today is because we've had questions. These sort of things, when the questions come through, we can help you and answer any of those questions or concerns and give you the solutions to the problems you are getting or that you may get when you go back to the salon. So please, questions, if you're watching it on replay or you're listening to it on our podcast, again, please pop any questions so that we can get to you as soon as we can.
There's a few people on already. We've got CJ said hello. We've got Heather's giving us a whoop. Lewis Perry's giving us some hearts. We've had Steve Fordham on as well. He's giving us a hey guys as well. So there's certainly people on that are wanting to find out a little bit more. And again, we're really lucky that Michelle is such a fantastic colorist. She's so good, so good. We talk about levels as well, Michelle. Where we're going with levels and cutting and stuff like that. What we can do in regards to some of those situations and where we need to get to and from. Because cutters, there's going to be something for us out there to be able to do as well. We're not going to be left out, which I think is often one of the things when you think about a color correction. It's like, well, it's just coloring, isn't it? But there's certainly some cutting you can do.
No, certainly not always the way.
So, well, I think it'd be good to get started with this. It's certainly something that it's a big bit of information. So, like Michelle said, anything you want to ask, please put it in the comments box, because we want to help you out as much as we can. And there might be some people out there that be able to help all of us out if we don't know the answers as well. So the more we talk, the more opportunities we've got to be able to find out a bit more. So, I suppose the biggest thing with anything to do with color correction is, where do you actually start in regards to, how do you start a color correction?
Great question, Keith. How do we start? For us, the best place to start is, a lot of you might already think that is the consultation. That's like the fundamental, to make sure that we've carried out a really professional consultation where we've covered absolutely everything that we possibly can, but also with our guests, or clients, whatever you call them, often they say, well, do I have to come in for a consultation? Can't you just put a full head of highlights in? I love that one. I would like to book for a full head of highlights, and I'm dark blonde oh no, actually I'm brunette on the ends. I'm a bit dark blonde. I'd like a full head of highlights and to go silver. Could you do me on Saturday? And this is Wednesday. And I've not had skin, have you had a skin test? No. Have you had a consultation? No. And the answer to that is, unfortunately, no matter how much we don't want to turn business away, we're actually better off turning that business away and having somebody in for the consultation first to set them up and to set us up. Because I don't know about anybody on here. Please pop in if you've had this. And if you're listening, have you had that person where you go to the trouble of doing a consultation, or you go to the trouble of bending over backwards to put them in, and then you think, well, I've actually done all of that. I've bent over backwards, and they don't actually want to come on the journey with you. So start off with the consultation. Is like the most important thing.
I've just realised something, Michelle. I can get people's comments up on the screen, which
I just saw it, and it kind of
it threw you. No, I saw you looking at it. I think it must go because Stephen's put a question up. So would you like me to show you that now, just to give you an idea what we've got coming?
Exactly what we're going to be talking about.
So let's just get this up. So what would you suggest if blonde clients have done a Holly Willoughby and tried going blonde from a box and come out orange yellow with a really light hairdresser done ends? I've got
really like hairdresser done ends. I love it. On zone 2 and 3. So Stephen, great question there. If you could just hold that thought, because I think you must have superpowers. Because
he definitely has, isn't he?
You must have known that what we were putting on today would include Holly Willoughby. Is it Willoughby?
No, well, the guy's called a Holly Willoughby, but you can call her that if you like. Some girls as well.
Sorry, I do apologise. I'm not meaning any malice by that.
But no, it's a term of endearment for us. So yeah, but I think it's Steve, you must have like been sending drones over, because we are going to cover that literally quite soon. So like Michelle said, hold on with that. Again, keep putting comments up. So I'll drop this question down for now. Michelle, carry on with what you're doing, because it's a great question from Stephen there, and we will cover that.
Yeah, absolutely. So start off with the consultation. And for us, we have an A4, well, it's A4, it's about 3 or 4 pages of a consultation when we get somebody to come in. Yeah, but we've worked on our consultation, and we've worked on the format. And for us, we find that if we go through every single detail before we even agree to do what we're going to do, we know there's no stone unturned. So we know that we've covered every eventuality. And, we know that everybody wants this Instagram worthy hair. And we get them to bring those pictures in of their goal. But let's look at where they're starting, what they've been doing to their hair, what is the condition of their hair, what have they, done, and they say, well, I haven't coloured it before. And when you delve in a bit deeper, it's only 6 months since they haven't coloured it.
They're lying to us, how dare they?
Exactly, they're so lying. And please, if you are a consumer that's watching this is meant with no malice to anybody, but these are the sort of situations we find ourselves in. So if you're the person with that hair that needs a color correction, or you've got a goal in mind of something that looks like one of these Instagrammed ice blondes, or what they call platinum card, or a Lady Gaga, please know that your hairdresser will want to do the utmost to help you achieve the result that you want. But it's not always achievable on day one. Often you need to go with your hairdresser and work on your condition of your hair, and just listen to your hairdresser, really, what they're saying to you. They have not trained for years not to want to help you get to your goal.
Yeah, I mean, that's such a good point. And it's I think there's always that awkward point. I know I'm saying about lying to your hairdresser, but there's always that awkward point where you know as a hairdresser that they've done it more than they're telling you, but your client's going, oh yeah, I think I only did it once, but it isn't an issue how many times you've done it. It's just easier if you say, I've done it 4 times, and we can go, oh, that's cool. Okay, we know what we're setting up for, rather than, well, I think I've only done it once. Then you're in no man's land, aren't you? Where you're sort of guessing to a certain extent. Obviously not you, Michelle, because you know what you're doing.
Well, you know what you're doing. I think
I do.
I think, Keith, you profess that you don't know. You know far more than you like to let on.
I'm not colour certified at all. I don't know how I ever got through that, but I am. But yeah, there we go. Anyway, you crack on. Tell me. So consultation. We've done we're looking at consultation. So you've gone through a form to find out where their goals are, where you want to get through things. You talked about condition. What about things like pricing and stuff like that? Yeah, where do you go with something? That you mention it then? Where do you mention that?
So, great question, Keith. We talk about the pricing in that appointment. So, if somebody is conscious about the costing, we try and find out if there's a budget in mind, or we try and give them, we ask them, would they like a costing? Obviously, it can be as long as a piece of string, because if somebody's needing a major colour correction, it can be when we reveal one level of colour, we might need to do something, and we might give a price for 3 colours and we need 4, but we always tell them that if we need to do another colour, there will be another charge. So we make sure that there's no hidden extras, but we always insist on somebody having a pre-treatment, a during treatment, a post-treatment. At that point in time, that's where we get somebody to take their home care kit home in that consultation to prepare their hair, so that we would go in with Redken's Extreme range and get them to take the shampoo, conditioner, cat treatment and a mask, so that when they come in maybe 10 days time, their hair is already in a better place.
Yeah, that's such a great point, because I'm going to make a slight analogy, and it's only one I think can sort of work to a certain extent. We've probably all painted walls before, or at least seen somebody do it, and the amount of prep work that goes in to make sure that the wall's flat and smooth and ready to take the paint that's going on. This is exactly the same thing with your hair, you're saying there, and it's a really good point.
Yeah, it's all about the prep, and I think that's perhaps the misillusion that with clever advertising on the television, often people think that I don't want to diss anyone, because I would never, everyone's got their own idea on how they go about things. But on social media or on, in the magazines, we see somebody transition almost by magic. And there's a before picture and an after picture, and there's none of the journey in between. And it looks like to a lot of hairdressers, oh my God, they're amazing, that colorist. They've taken that guess from this. And if you imagine, we're talking about something that would be as dark as maybe you're looking at rubber, dark rubber on a tire, that sort of depth of dark. And they've taken them to something that almost looks see-through, like a white piece of paper, and we're seeing that on Instagram. We're seeing that on online, or any of the social platforms. TikTok, that TikTok's great at showing a before and after, but they do not show necessarily the transition in between. That could have taken 4 years, as Jackie was telling us last week about her grey journey.
Yeah,
it's very much the same thing, and being as transparent as you can be, and as hairdressers being as transparent, so that the newer hairdressers coming through, or anybody that's come up with problems, can see the authenticity of what happens, not the if by magic that's going to happen.
That's such a good point, because I think it's got me thinking. Both Michelle and I were lucky enough. We went to Vegas, was it a couple of years ago now? And do you remember we had a male model that went from dark to light? The amount of time we spent on him. We try and dig out the photographs, and if you join us on podcasts, that's going to be different. But this guy was like Japanese, he had like Japanese black hair, that sort of really dark depth of color, and we took him from that up to, well, it was almost like an Iceland blonde, wasn't it? It was really, really light. It was almost like paper, like you said, paper white, and that took like 3 days. I think it did. It wasn't a quick fix. It really wasn't a quick fix.
No,
So maybe we'll try some photographs of that.
I think that would be great if we can. I have got some, so we'll have to share those, and we could share those on Hair Talk, because that would be a really good visual to show you the transition that we took him, and we got him there. But I don't know whether we would have got him there necessarily if his hair was longer than 3 inches long.
That's a really good point.
Quality would have been different. But going back to the consultation form, we also, and this for me was a breakthrough, was that, you know, sometimes customers wouldn't take home the home care, and we've worked really hard on their hair. We've coloured it, we've put a gloss over it to neutralise the warmth, and somebody will call up a week later and said the warmth has come back through, but they've not taken any of the recommended home care with them. They, in effect, used washing up liquid on their hair, and it's come back through. And for us, that's not our fault, really, even though we would end up being duty of care and given another gloss, but it's actually not our fault, and we're losing money, wasting time, when that actually didn't need to happen if it was a partnership. And it's a real 360-degree hairdresser, guest or client, and the products that we use. It all needs to happen. So we have a statement, 2 statements on the form. One, it says vivid colour will fade immediately, tick box. And then it says about that, if your hair is damaged, please do not go any further, you need rehab. If we don't take the products home, we do not guarantee the longevity of the colour, and we get them to sign and date it. We give them a costing, and then we keep that. So if anything happens after that, we can revisit that and say, well, this is the majority of the time people take what we need, because it's more plain and we're explaining why. But there's certainly alleviates that the redo that actually wasn't a redo.
We've had, I mean, I've had that before where clients have come back in, and it's like you said, if you're setting them up like you have done, and we've had to colour people because we're like, oh God, the colour's faded, and we haven't set them up as well as you've done there in regards to that. And I think that's a really good point, because it's I think sometimes feel that we really care about our clients, and we really care about what they want to get from their hair. So we want to, when we recommend this stuff, we're not doing it because we want to set, we're not going buy this product. We want it because we know it's going to work. So it's believing in the brand that you've got, whatever your brand is, and knowing that it's going to deliver what it is you're going to ask of it, so that when clients take it home, you then don't have them coming back in a week's time going, oh, this didn't work, it didn't do that. Like I said, you've ticked all the boxes, you've dotted all the I's and T's and stuff like that, and just to ensure that they're in the best place possible to be able to get the colour that they want. And the only, again, another analogy is, I always go back to Airfix kits. I've probably said this before, but if you haven't got all the parts, you can't make the plane. So if you haven't got all the parts for the colour, the prep, the treatments, the booking in regularly and all that type of stuff, then you're not going to get to that beautiful colour that you want to get to, because you're not doing all the steps that we want you to do, because we care about you and want to get you there.
And I think that's a great point there, Keith, because maybe
you're getting some love coming in, by the way, because about the consultation form. Look, let's just show you some of the love.
Love that tip, Michelle. I picked that up from you a while ago, and it makes so much sense. Fantastic. Oh, Lewis, I'm glad. I think we talked about this at the last rack, actually, last year when we were all together. Love that idea of the consultation forms. And it seems, it's almost going back to basics. When we were training, we would have used a consultation form.
Yeah.
It is going back to not relying on us to remember everything. Why should we remember? Do you know what I mean? Like, if you follow the steps, then it's like having instructions to set up your TV.
Well, also, I think it gives it that sort of Not that it's not professional, but it looks more it looks more formal, I think is the word.
Yes.
Because you've got a notebook or you've got your iPad, and you're like, well, let's just take these notes down and see exactly what it is you're saying to me. It just has that sense of seriousness a little bit more. Not that you're not serious when you're talking to somebody, but I think if you're talking and writing down at the same time, it always looks more intense, doesn't it? So I think, yeah, it's a really good thing to do. Really good thing to do. Love it.
And like definitely has been a breakthrough for the team in being able to deliver more, and I think it elevates the guest experience. And and we've been using this particular form for about 2.5, maybe 3 years, and it really has elevated the experience. And when we first did it, people said, oh, can I just pop in for a skin test and a quick chat? And we said, and we charge for it as well. We only charge £20, but we make people pay £20 before they come in to have it. If they then book their service, it then becomes a free consultation and they get that £20 towards their deposit. But it just alleviates no-show consultations and people who aren't really serious about coming along the journey. And also it just means that the team, you know, we all know how much time and effort we put into what we do. And there's nothing more deflating than to spend 30, 45 minutes with somebody and them to leave and say, oh, well, I think about that. I'll go and look on the internet or find someone else.
What a great idea. I mean, you know, the consultation, I mean, we've always done that, free consultation. And I've had that happen, you know, where somebody's gone, oh, yeah, that's great. Let's get all the information I can from you. And I'm going to bugger off down the road and, you know, go and see Holly or Davina.
Exactly. And I think we've got to, as a profession, we've got to stand up and say, no, we're not doing that.
No.
You know?
Should we get Holly on to talk about Holly? Should we get
Holly? Well, I don't think anybody realised that we were getting a guest person on today.
Before we get there, Lewis has just put a question on, so I'm going to just share it with everybody else up on the screen here. So, and I'll read it out as well, just so that everybody can know what's going on. So, Michelle, how would you approach a situation where your level 4 grey coverage client wants to take her base lighter to a level 7 with highlights, like the Jennifer Lopez vibe?
Ah, that's a great one. But, you know, really want to start and think about how much of her hair. I mean, I wouldn't worry too much about her, you know, grey coverage, because we know we can go in with a level 7 there, as long as her, you know, the 20 vol will take you from, I don't know, she's naturally a level. Lewis, is she naturally a level 4 or is she coloured at a level 4?
Ah, that's the difference then, isn't it?
Yeah, because if you're naturally a level 5 and you put a 7 on with 20 volume, you'll get those roots or her grey area to that 7. But if she's tinted to a level 4, then you need to go through a situation where you lift everything to a 7. So you need to do whether it be a lightening service where you do a global blonde, lighten her up to a 7, which we know is going to reveal some warmth. And when you think about Jennifer Lopez, it's quite caramelly, it's quite warm, it's definitely not cool. So you actually have got a good goal because you're going to reveal that warmth. And if it was me, I would lighten everything to a 7. Then I would neutralize it with a Shades EQ at the same time as colouring her regrowth. So I would tint her regrowth to a 7, neutralize or tone or add the caramel, whatever you need to do with the Shades EQ over the lightened area. So now we've got a starting point of a global level 7 warm. Remember, we want caramel tones. Then I would go in and put my highlights.
Good answer, and
great question.
Great question and great question, great answer. And Lewis, hopefully let's cover some of it. You know, if there's any other bits, just pop that down, and we can come back to that. But I think that's a brilliant answer and a brilliant question. So thank you for that. I'll get that down, and Michelle, I shall pop you up, our guest. let's get our guest on.
Welcome to the show.
Welcome to the show. So let's just get. There we go. Can we see her there? Let me just get her up. There we go. Hopefully. There she is. There she is.
So thank you.
I'm going to make that bigger so you can see the whole screen. I might disappear. So let me just do that. And there we go. Is that better, Michelle?
Fabulous. You know, if you can see that, I can see it in the chat bar, just so we know that you're all good with seeing the visuals that we've put up. So, you know, these visuals, welcome to the show, Holly Willoughby, and her fabulous box. She looks beautiful on the box. And I think that I'm sure all of you, you know, like Stephen said, the question about it, I don't know, you must have been sending signals, smoke signals from Rugby to Kent and then to Cardiff. So I think they were certainly travelling, just
definitely
in the same thing we were thinking with our Holly, you know, using a box to colour and achieve that global blonde. And on the right hand side, you know, think about, is she actually using this box? Is it just that she's the face on the box and she's actually having her hair done and it's just having it blow dried for the picture? And do they really care what product's been used on the hair? Is it just the fact that she's the face of the box? You know, we know as hairdressers that's very frustrating, because guests or clients will look at that and think, oh, well, I'll just put that box on and I'll achieve Holly Willoughby's blondes. And I don't know whether anyone saw that Davina and Holly did an Instagram live where they both coloured their roots during, I don't know which lockdown, I think it was the December lockdown.
Yeah, I think it was that one, you're right.
And, you know, they showcased doing their roots themselves. And you probably saw them with those wide gloves, you know, the ones that come in the boxes that you can hardly grab your fingers and thumbs, and they screw the box, got mixing. You know, I'm not here to say right or wrong or indifferent on what they do, but as hairdressers, we know that that is not going to look like that if you're going to use it from a box. You know, we know it's not going to. You know, it's 1001, so we know it's a level 10, it's natural, and it's got a little bit of ash in it. But is it more realistic to think that she has her hair done professionally and might just top up the root every now and again? And if the root is only a centimetre long, could she get away with it? But if it's a root that's been reapplied over reapplied over reapplied over a period of time, would it look like that, or would it look like the lady on the right? I mean, you can see that picture. We snapshot that off Facebook.
I mean, you have got Holly. She's almost like a creamy blonde, sort of honey light color, and then the other one is like a dirgy, gingery sort of not so great color in it. It's not brilliant.
It's probably like you know, if you're listening, it's probably more like a level 8, orangey, yellowy orange. It's almost like quite a dirty color, isn't it? Sorry, I don't be any disrespect to anybody, but it's not achieved that, as Keith said, that Icelandic, that Norwegian, that really sort of buttery blonde. It's not achieved that. And you can see by the head of hair that the girl that bought the box and thought she would end up looking like Holly Willoughby, that she probably, you know, you can see there that she probably had about 5 inches of regrowth. And maybe if they showed the side of it, she's got a little bit of blonde on the ends, and maybe that would look okay. But because it's 5 inches, we know that capability of that lift is not going to lift it. But would you be able to get away if there was a centimetre of regrowth and just apply that? Probably. Probably, because would you really notice a tiny 0.5 centimetre to 1 centimetre of warm against all of that buttery blonde shade? It might not notice as much.
I don't know. The hairdressers, whenever she colours her hair, you always get a lot of hairdressers that are on the socials going, Holly's on her hair. I can see the orangeness on a regrowth, and it's to a trained eye you may well do, but to Joe Blogs on the street, they're probably not really going to notice it. And I said, there is a place for box colours. I think that's the thing. We're not here to poo-poo them and put them down, because Michelle talked about this a couple of lives ago about Josh Wood saying that he provides hair colour for as a consumer product that people can go into supermarkets and buy, because he was saying that every woman should be able to colour their hair, every man should be able to colour their hair. So it's having that option and giving people the price range to do it. And I think hairdressers can be a little bit scared about box colours, thinking that if a client does that once, suddenly they're going to lose them. It's certainly not the case. Believe in what it is you do. Clients like coming to the salon for the experience of being in a salon. And, it's been difficult times, so people are doing things they probably wouldn't do. So they might have got a box colour and done their hair with a box colour, and that's cool. We're there to help them out. And those box client colours, I know I've certainly had the ones that have decided they want to come to the salon that one time and not have box colour anymore. And you spend all that time getting them to a point where you're thinking, yeah, it's looking really good. And the next time you see him, they've stuck another box colour on.
And we all have that. And what somebody doesn't quite realise is, by doing that, their bill actually is more expensive. Because the correction of that is more expensive than just coming in for a root retouch every 4 weeks and maintaining the work that you've done. There's more treatments involved, because I've had people that will go home and put a colour over, and it covers over all of their highlights. So you can't re-highlight it, because if you do that over and over again, all you're doing is re-highlighting over colour that's covering over highlights. So you have to do more treatment. So it actually becomes a bigger vicious circle that is harder work, but also more expensive in the long run than just visiting us.
And like you said, I think if you get that honesty with them at the start of that, and you're telling them that, consultation wise, if you're tempted to do that one time, you'll find that it's going to set you back, and like I said, you're going to end up paying more money. So it's such a good point with that. What about dark colours? Because we've mentioned old Holly Willoughby there. What about our darker clients then, Michelle?
Yeah.
What sort of situations might they get into?
Sorry, Keith, before we jump onto their
I'll go back.
Stephen's question was about how we get somebody who's done this back to
Let me get it up. Yeah, I can put it up.
So it says, try to go in from blonde and box and orangey, and then with really light hairdresser done ends. So they exactly the situation we've talked about, where their roots may have gone to about 2 or 3 inches. So they've put the holly colour on, and then the ends are a beautiful blonde, and yet you've got exactly as the lady, which is the gingery roots. It's probably looking around a level 8, and it's looking quite orange. Look at the colour wheel of where we are. And if we're looking at something that's yellow, or we're looking at something that potentially is yellowy orange or orangey yellow, depending on where she is looking. And if we just use the girl on the right, which is, for those of you listening, that's somebody who's got quite an orangey, it's more orangey than it is yellow result, then we need to look at what it's opposite. So if it was yellow, then we would be looking at violet. But if it was orange, we would be looking at blue. But if it's a mixture of both, then we know we need a blue-violet to neutralize it. So this is the way I would carry it out. I would correct the area that's warm first, depending on what you want to achieve. If you want to achieve a global blonde, then you would have to lighten it globally, leaving out the ends so that you're getting the root area, or the area that's ginger, lifted to the ends of the hairdresser done ends, so that then it's even. So you've now got an even level 9 or a level 10 before you then go in and refresh it with a Shades EQ or whatever the makeup colour that you use to even the colour and give it that nice finish and bring the two together. If you want to go back to having highlighter done ends onto the roots, so you might take the gingery look, then mix up something at level 8 that is blue violet, cover that over so that you've calmed, neutralized, and now she's a level 8 neutral or cool. And then once that's all taken off, go in and highlight her hair. So now we're highlighting her hair with the color that's left in between is natural or neutral and not warm. If you just go in and do a straight set of highlights in this, you're going to have highlights and ginger. And no matter how much you highlight or lighten and lift that blonde, the ginger will always make that blonde look warm. Then you'll want to tone it, and then you'll never be able to tone it to the level of the 8 and the level of the lightest blonde that you've lifted it to. So it'll always either be too cool or too warm.
Yeah. Even I understood that, Michelle. That's really that's this you know, like you said, there's so much involved with it, and like when you're looking at these online Instagrams and this, that, and the other, it goes from one to the other. You're missing out this big, massive chunk of information that is the most important part. It's not the end result. I mean, we want it to look great, obviously, but it's that bit in the middle, the filling in the middle that makes that whole thing come together.
And also, you know, not forgetting treating it. So, you know, at every step, pre-treat, mid-treat, post-treat, because if you don't do that, the hair, the tone that you get it to is not going to stay. Because
shall I bring Davina up now? Because I went a little bit too far ahead there. It
would be lovely to see Davina.
Let's get Davina in. Here she comes.
Davina to the table.
These are great visuals, by the way. It's certainly, I think we'll probably all be familiar with the one on the right-hand side. So those that are listening in, it's showing us a picture of hair that's never been coloured before, and it's had some lightening done. So it's like a creamy, light, yellowy, blonde colour. And then another colour that's had lots and lots of box dyes on it, which have been quite dark. And that's like a orangey, Albany, like almost like an autumn leaf colour, isn't it? It's that sort of, and it's not very shiny either. It's a bit dirgy.
Yeah, and it's not even either. So it's slightly lighter on the root area and slightly lighter on the ends, with like a mid band of that sort of autumn leaf. That's quite a good description. Autumn leaf tone. That's a new shade that we're going to develop. Autumn leaf.
But you know, we do get out of the two. I mean, this is something I find. I think out of the lighter colours and the darker colours seem to be a little bit more successful than the lighter ones tend to be.
And I think it's yes, they do, but I guess it's whether or not you've got somebody who's done a Davina once during lockdown or 5 times during lockdown, and then she doesn't look like Davina. She now looks more like bitter chocolate.
Morticia.
You know, and yes, her root area will appear like it's not covering, and they probably will come in and say to you, oh, I've been doing this colour at home, and it's, you know, I've been going really well. It's been very successful. I've done so well with it. The condition's feeling really good. I like colouring it. But I don't know, it doesn't seem to colour anymore at the root area. I'm not getting the coverage. And, you know, we know it's not that it's not covering at the root area. It's just built up so opaque through the mid-lengths and ends, or zone 2 and 3, that it just looks so saturated that when they're putting that lighter brown that they're putting on, it's appearing so contrasting because it's just getting darker and darker and darker through those mid-lengths and ends.
Yeah, it's, you know, I've said I'm already thinking of clients that, you know, that do that, and they come in, they say exactly the same thing that you've just said there, especially about the coverage side of things. It's a really good point that, and again, giving clients that information, I think it's okay for us as hairdressers, we know that, but we also need to tell our clients that as well, so that, they understand why it is that, what's happening to their hair because of the way they're colouring it, and the results are going to keep getting because they keep doing it that way as well.
Yeah. And I think letting them know that potentially they keep, people will say that they do their roots only. We've all had it where somebody said, well, I've only ever put it on my roots. But we know, I've during lockdown coloured my own hair, and well, only the front. I can't be doing the rest, only the front. And it's hard. It's really hard to do. I know that lightening this area, and I did the whole, I've made a video actually to post, but I've done the whole, back-to-back foils application, saturation. I've done the whole everything. And I still ended up orangey yellow. I'm an experienced hairdresser. So if we struggle, and I got overlapping, so I know I got a bit of breakage, it's hard to do.
Michelle, it's never breakage, it's chemical cutting.
Oh yeah, it's chemical layers.
It's chemical layers or chemical cutting, that's fine.
But if we struggle, then I can see why people get the color everywhere, even though they feel like they're only because you only apply it which way you think to the roots, but it's where especially these sides, and you probably all have had it where somebody has applied it here and it just looks black. It might look like a lovely like chestnut brown here, but the sides look black. Because, when they've pulled it back and applied it, of course, they've squeezed so much on, it's all gone up on the hair at the sides. And unless you're really pulling the hair back and tapping into that root area, which that's what we would do, you're always going to get that colour over it. And I know that when we talked about this, Keith, earlier, we were talking about, this is almost like the better of the two evils. If somebody's only topped up their roots once, there's only that area, and potentially it's gone over the rest when they've massaged it or they've taken it off. So potentially there's not too much work to do. But when we look at the pictures on the right, which is
definitely
exactly where Keith has said about it being one side is virgin hair and it's like a really like light, buttery, creamy blonde, and on the opposite side it's where it's uneven and holding that sort of burnt autumn leaf shade of orange. And that's the difference between somebody who's naturally brown and gone blonde or somebody who's been using continuous box dyes. And then this is the situation that we end up in.
That visual actually I've just come to me just now. I think it'd be a really good one to show clients.
Oh,
just go, look, this is, if you tell me how many box colours you got on, this is where it's going to go. So it means it's got more work to do to get it to the picture on the left than we have on the right. I mean, it's going to take treatments, it's going to take you looking after it, all these types of things and information that they need. But I think there's such an impactful visual for that particular, not just from a hairdressing perspective, but also from a client or customer or whatever we want to call our guests coming in. From that perspective, it's a really good visual, really good visual.
And where do you go from here? A lot of people will say that I want to be blonde, but we know we cannot bypass orange. From if we're starting off at a level 3, a level 4, a level 5, and it's been subsequent box colors on it, or even just being over colored by a hairdresser, and especially if permanent color is being, and that's the key thing, if permanent color is being continuously pulled through the hair every single time, we know it's going to be so saturated here through zones 2 and 3, or for those of you who aren't familiar with that terminology, through the mid-lengths of ends of the hair. We know that we can't bypass orange. We've got to go through it.
Have you got any swatches or anything that, I know we were talking about that before. This might be out of place as well. But have you got any bits that you can show us in regards to?
Well, and actually, that's great. Thanks, Keith. Because when we
take this down.
When we think about the and I've got my little head in the background. I don't know how this has ended up in the picture. My little blockhead wanted to come in and and join in today. She was meant to be not in the picture. See, look at, that's how tight my screen is.
Yeah, I've done that, Michelle. Made it smaller so you can't see. There you go.
Just hide that. So, often we'll end up getting to that point where we're that orange. And what do we do? Where do we go from here? We've tried to get somebody. We've told them we can't get them to the blonde that they would like in their first visit. So we've explained that we need to lighten it, and we need to see what's going to be revealed, whether we're going to only end up at a reddy colour or whether we actually can get to orange. And we know that we've still got that red element left in it that's holding us back from getting to yellow. And often we'll end up, and I'm showing to the screen now something really fiery and like orange to the pumpkin level. So we're looking orange.
I love that description. Pumpkin level orange.
Pumpkin level orange. I'm going to try my best to open this, if it will. So we've got something that's like pumpkin level orange, and that's very much like the picture was on the previous screen. And we get to that, and we know somebody doesn't want to be that colour. If somebody, I think there's nothing better than somebody wanting to go blonde and happy to go that colour in between, because I think that is the most amazing colour ever. I love it. But if somebody's not comfortable, which we know a lot of people wouldn't be comfortable with that, how do I get that to more of a neutral shade so that they know that they're going to have like a neutral transition between being dark and being light, and they're going to be more of a mousy sort of shade in between? And I've got that to show you if they end up being that red, what do we do? So often we might pick something. We know if we look back to the colour wheel, we need something that's green. So we often pick a green shade, and it doesn't actually come through as quite that green on the camera. But if you were looking in real life, it is a green. But we might pick something because we know that person wants to be light. So we go ahead and pick a light green because we don't want to take them too dark, because we're still praying and hoping that when we take it off, it's going to be this magical lighter colour. We've all been there. I've been there. Keith's been there.
We pray to the hairdressing gods, like, please.
If I put this on, it's going to look magically. We know it's not going to. So we put that on, and it subdues it. It doesn't get rid of it, but it just makes it less red. In all reality, for us to get it to be in neutral and just look brown, we need to make sure that we're using equal power and equal strength of green. So it needs to be as strong mixed in your bowl as the hair you're seeing. And if it's not going to have the same strength, the same power, and the same saturation to knock it out. And so
it's almost like you've gone from a mint green to a British racing green, that type of.
Yes, that sort of idea of what we might pick, thinking that we've got flame red, and for some reason mint green's going to neutralize it. And I'm not. This is not to be disrespectful to anybody. I've been there, and I've thought some reason it's going to look. Oh, this is going to look great. Oh my gosh, it's not. And I just want to share with you the blue reality. And again, if somebody's come out orange, which is our pumpkin orange, and we know we don't want them to be dark, so we mix up 0. And for those who don't use Redken, we'll explain, but 09B, because it's blue and it's at a level 9, and I want to be a level 9. But my lady is only a level 7, but I'm still going to put it on because I'm going to hope and pray. And probably it's not as blue as that, but if I use that as the sort of idea of the blue, but I'm going to keep it light because I want to be light. And we put that over here, and when we put it over, and for those of you listening, it's like what would you say there? It's like baby blue.
Yeah, it's almost like a baby blue going over the top. Yeah.
And in all reality, what we need to go over the top is probably something either more strength like that. So we're going to go in with something that's a little bit more.
The other way, Michelle. That's it. We've got you in the middle there.
Thank you. More like a sky blue, or even something a bit more like a midnight blue. So you need that strength.
That's it. In the middle of it. You're drifting. That's it. You're drifting over. She's drifting over to one side of the screen. But you saying that, Michelle, it's seeing the visual up of how strong the colours are. Like I said, when you're seeing something that's vibrant and red and really strong, it really helps you visualise that the strength of colour that you're putting on needs to be exactly the same.
Yeah.
Because anything other than that is going to give you it will tone it, because we're looking at the colour wheel, and it's going to look at neutralising some of those bits, but it's not going to do as much. It's like half punching at it. It's not really giving it its full whack, is it, if you just put the other ones on? And
it'll probably subdue it, so it's not quite as fierce, but it'll still be warm.
So I think I think it's a big thing with when you get given processing times, especially things when you're using stuff to tone. I think this is one of the things that I've picked up on, is that people have a fear of leaving it on for the development time. It's all like, oh my God, I've got to tone it. Quick, I need to put it on for a minute and then take it off, and it doesn't have a chance to do its job properly. And it's really important. And again, you'll tell me if I'm off the mark here with this, is that if it's a development time, you need to have faith and let the product do its work for that amount of time, so you get the result that you want at the end.
And absolutely, Keith. But also, if you left it on for the full amount of time and it took you darker or cooler, then you've formulated wrong. If you're only trying to put it on to give it, oh my God, it's gone, get it off, you need to either go lighter, weaker, or stronger, depending on where your starting point is.
So lighter, weaker, or stronger. Yeah. I'm just going to put that in the bar. Weaker or stronger.
And if you take it just back, exactly as we've been doing, if you take it back to paints, and it's just back to school and back to mixing paints together. If you're mixing red together, the green that you get in the children's paints is
yeah, it's like that.
It's like, ooh, it's like that. I love that. Ooh, ooh.
So I'll do it in a minute. When I'm cutting, I'll be cutting in a minute, and you'll be like, where are you going? I'm over here cutting over. I'm off screen for everywhere.
It's like dancing. And with that being said, Keith, you've got some great, what do we do with cuts?
I've got just a few little tips I want to share with you guys in regards to some cutting techniques. Now, they're quite quick, they're quite easy to do, and it's certainly something that will just enhance or help out some of those situations you get where you're looking at it. Often it's where things might have been cut too short, possibly. If it's been previously coloured, the client wants a graduated bob, say, and you start getting those lines through the back, or sometimes the colour just looks a little bit, one of the weaves might be a little bit too thick, and normally it's always one right around the flipping front as well. It's never one that's around the back. And you think, oh my God, what we're going to do? So just want to share a couple of techniques. These are just some simple things that you can have a go at to get your ladies' colour working a little bit better. So first things first is, let's just get that there. When you're looking at this, you want to be looking across here. Now, it doesn't look too bad, which is annoying. It's a bit patchy. I didn't colour this bit. But where it's starting to look a little bit thicker sort of through here, and I want to get a little bit more of an even, sort of almost like a highlighted effect, what I can do with my scissors is if I come in and just across the surface, just lightly come in and just look at breaking up. So one of the things to look at or think about really is, we sometimes have these razors that have got little bits that are jagged out of them. They'd be really good because it's almost giving you a highlight effect. When you think of the cutting, the way that you cut with those razors, it cuts a bit, it leaves a bit out. So it's a bit like a weave. So you could use on a surface, just a little bit of a razor on that, which is what this is pretty much doing. So again, I'm just picking out an area, I'm just looking at it, and I'm just taking a little piece out. Again, Coming over to this side, just working through. So just on the surface, just with the very, very tips of my scissors, I'm coming up quite close to the root. Go on, Michelle.
You know, with what way where you've just got the tips of your scissors, are you just slightly opening and shutting the blade?
Yeah, it's very, very tiny. You know, we're talking like small amounts. We're doing that type of thing.
Just like that millimetre or two at the very end, is there?
Yeah, the tip of the blade's opening probably a couple of mil, and as I'm opening and closing, I'm coming down at the same time. So I'm pulling away from the hair. So what you'll see is as I come in, I'm pulling away.
Almost like tweezers.
Hey, now that's a really good way of looking. Yeah, almost like you'd be pinching and just nipping that hair out. So, yeah, a tweezer technique works really well. And you'll just start to see it just starts to allow that colour underneath just to come through a little bit more. So you're getting that sort of highlighted
more
effect
even
with it,
now, Keith.
Yeah. So that's certainly something. Again, we're doing this round on the fringe, but there's nothing to say if this was the back of a graduated bob and you had a big weight line through here, there's a different thing you could do with that. Now, what you could do with that, well, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to pick the hair up. So you're going to elevate the hair, lift the hair up. And by lifting the hair up, what you're going to do is you're going to allow the hair to become a little bit softer when you come to cut it. So
just a little bit, that's it.
You see that?
Yeah, that's good. We're good.
I'm going to go on tippy toe so you can see that a bit more. What you're going to do through here, so you need to get your your scissors perpendicular to the actual hair. You don't want to be coming in at an angle, a 45-degree angle, because you're going to start cutting hair away. So if I do that, I'm going to take length away and it's going to be chunky. If I bring my scissors all the way up and then come in perpendicular to it, what I find is that I can soften the hair up without taking any length away. So let's just have a little go. And we're cutting as we come out. So our scissors come down, touch my fingers, close, and then come back out. So come in, touch my fingers. So the bottom blade is touching my fingers. So it's just touching gently there. I can feel it. As it touches, I'm coming out. So it's almost using that as a prompt to take that out. And then what that'll do is the elevation will soften the hair anyway, because you're lifting up, you're going to get sort of a layered effect to it. And then by texturizing or chipping into the end, what you'll find is it just diffuses that line a little bit more so you get something that looks even softer.
That looks totally different now that it's finished. And we've all had those graduated bobs where somebody has maybe put quite a lot of colour in and it's been cut, and then you've got a ledge.
Well, you get the ledge or you get the spotting going on. But yeah, anytime you lift hair up, it's always going to be softer. So it's a bit like, you think about layers and softness to hair. It's always when the hair's being picked up. All the times hair's left in natural form and just drop down, then it's going to be very, very hard. So if you want to get rid of those lines and blend those bits out a little bit more, think about lifting the hair up. Think about the tool that you're using as well. So like I said, texturizing shears work quite well because they got a cut bit, a bit that misses out, a cut bit and a bit that misses out. So you can get that sort of highlighted effect to it by cutting. Again, you've got to be mindful of where you're cutting. So, it does leave you with quite short pieces sometimes. And because you're putting blunt, straight lines into that hair, it can look quite hard. That's why slicing can work a little bit better. It's a little bit softer. So there's no right or wrong. So just be mindful of what technique you're using and where.
I think they're great techniques. I'm sure there's a situation when I go back to the salon, which, and I'm sure everybody will have those situations where somebody's tried the home highlighting kit, that's going to be coming in very, very useful.
We could do it with the spots. You get the little spots around the back, the tiger print thing sometimes, leopard print. You can do that sort of tweezer technique, though, which I really like that description, that tweezer technique of being able just on the surface to break it up a little bit more. So certainly something to bear in mind with that. So good stuff.
Great tips. And just before we go on, because I know we've got to talk about what's coming next, just for those of you who are watching and may not be fellow Redken lovers, these are just my products of choice. This particularly 06 Ash Brown is an amazing shade for really knocking out. It's got the power to knock out, the power in the blue to knock out those orange tones. at a level 6, and it comes in a level 4 as well. But Shades EQ Gloss is the perfect colour because it works where you've got, it says your background and it says what shade is in it, and it works on either red, blue, violet, green. It tells you exactly what's in it. You can really use it like you were mixing paints and picking the particular shade to match the color wheel to be able to neutralize. And then Flash Lift Bonder inside is the flash lift that I use, and it's a lightener, but it's also got the bonding agent already in. So we just know that when we're using it to lighten, especially box dyed hair, it's going to have that protection in there already, rather than having to add an additive, which sometimes can mess with your mix, and then have to do a step 2 after. It just saves all of that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point getting the products up. I think it's, certainly, I think with Redken now, it's more available. So you can get that in a fair few wholesalers now as well. So it used to be something that was only sold directly to salons. But certainly for those of you that want to give it a go, I think Capital is one of them that has those products in there. So certainly have a little look through there. So we've been going for a bit. We want to tell you a little bit about what's going to happen next week as well. So I'm going to put this up at the bottom. So just have a little look. This is what's happening next week. Next week, a quick shag.
Sorry, Keith. I that. Yeah.
We are going to be looking at. We're going to be looking at a quick shag. So a shag haircut, for those people that are wondering what it is, a shag haircut is something that's loose, layered, choppy, something that was quite big in the 70s, 80s, that type of thing. So we're going to be looking at doing a quick shag. So 4 or 5 sections it's going to be looking at, and it'd probably be done in, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes tops, the whole haircut. But we can talk through how we've got to that result, why that result's happened, and things that we can do in regards to maybe making it a slightly longer haircut so that clients are like, bloody hell, is that what you've done? And also look at how we can refine that haircut a little bit more. So certainly the look I'm going to share with you next week is going to be something that's going to be, really shaggy, really choppy, really textured, and really quick. But we'll also explore some of the avenues we got, how we can make that more refined, a little bit more polished and stuff like that as well. But when you think of a shag haircut, it's quite loose and messy. So it'll be definitely a really good one to tune in for next week.
And we were going to look also at how it could be adapted to curly hair, weren't we? That was the sort of, there's a lot of that on trend now, that sort of curly shag. Yeah,
I think textured hair, curly hair is something that can sometimes get left out a little bit. And it's certainly, I think, because we're starting to see, well, we've seen for a long time now, beachy waves, curls and stuff like that. People are now thinking more of curls as in perms. There isn't any talk about that going on. So certainly looking at ways that we can let our curly or textured hair friends have a little bit of a shag thing going on as well. So quick shags next week.
And sort of esque of like Chrissy Hind.
Yeah, Chrissy, that type of thing. Yeah, Chrissy Hines. I can't think of any other iconic ones at the time, but yeah, certainly that type of rocky. It's quite a rock chick type of look, I think. So it works really, really well.
But less Susie and the Banshees.
Less Susie. Yeah. Not as much eye makeup. So good stuff. Got any more comments and stuff that you want to pop in for, something? Greg, I'll just put this up. So Greg's put up, he likes a quick shag. But yeah, any more, when you're watching this back and there's any questions that you want answered, Michelle's done a great job on covering a lot of stuff. But again, there may be stuff that you in particular want answers to. And certainly we'd love you to have the opportunity to be able to ask those questions to us. So feel free afterwards, if you're watching this back again, to write down what you want answered and we'll get back to you. Definitely.
Yeah. And, it's surprising how, you know, like you said, we've covered a lot, but we've actually probably only tipped the, you know, the iceberg, really, haven't we?
We scratched it.
Scratched the surface, and we've been on for just over an hour now already.
Yeah.
So, you know, like Keith said, you know, just fire questions away. And, you know, we will dip back into this sort of subject because it is a big subject, but we'll dip into it as we're going along because we've got so much planned in the next, you know, over the next year that we can certainly share with you. So thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight again.
And that might be some sort of workshop thing anyway that we could do, some sort of subscription thing that people can dial into and get some more in-depth information on. So, yeah, thanks again, guys, for spending your time with us tonight. It's been great sharing this hour with you, and like I said, we'll see you next week. Thanks again.
Thanks so much, and yeah.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.